Evan had always been the kind of man the world passed by without noticing. A drifter by circumstance more than choice, he had spent the last few years wandering from one forgotten corner of the city to another, collecting odd jobs and stories in equal measure. That night, cold winds pushed him toward an abandoned transit station, a relic from a transit line shut down decades ago. Few remembered it. No one cared enough to check it. Perfect for sleeping, he slipped through the rusted gate, boots brushing against dust thick enough to muffle every step. In the dimness, his breath shimmered like faint ghost trails in the cold. He settled near an old ticket counter, curling his arms across his chest. The silence felt almost comforting. The last thing he remembered was staring at a flickering emergency sign above the exit, its dying red light pulsing like a heartbeat. Then dash nothing. When Evan woke, the air no longer smelled of dust and rust. It smelled clean, metallic, pressurized. Soft humming stirred through the floor beneath him, vibrating faintly up his spine. He blinked up at blinding white panels arranged in octagonal patterns above his head. For a moment he thought he'd been moved to a hospital. Then he noticed the ceiling wasn't flat, it was moving. Tiny lights ran through its circuits like luminous veins, flowing in elegant loops. Hospitals didn't do that. He sat up sharply and realized the room around him was no room on Earth. Smooth walls, seamless, glowing softly at the edges. A transparent screen floated near the wall, displaying unreadable symbols that shifted like sand in a digital tide. Okay, Evan muttered to himself. Either someone slipped something in my dinner, or I am definitely not in the station anymore. A door hissed open. He spun around. A woman entered, wearing a navy jumpsuit with silver lines that pulsed like running electricity. Her dark hair was tied back, her expression both alert and cautiously kind. My name is Elizabeth, she said firmly. And you are very lucky to be alive. Evan opened his mouth. Closed it? Managed to croak? Where am I? You're aboard the starship Helios Ascendant? That's not a hospital, he said intelligently. Elizabeth cracked a short smile. No, not even close. Elizabeth explained what little she could. The Helios Ascendant was a deep space exploration vessel, part of a classified research initiative operating far beyond Earth's orbit. He had been recovered unconscious inside. Something called the Relic Chamber, a cargo hold dedicated to examining artifacts of unknown origin. How he had appeared inside the chamber was, in her words, a complete impossibility. No unauthorized personnel can enter the relic, she said. It's sealed with technology years ahead of anything Earth officially recognizes. And yet, there you were? Evan frowned. I was sleeping in an abandoned station. Then I woke up here, that's all. Elizabeth's eyes narrowed not accusingly, but with a scientist's sharp curiosity. The relic was discovered inside an underground complex. It resembled a collapsed transit station or a memory of one. He felt a chill. It looked like a station? Yes, that place didn't look new. It was old, falling apart. So is the relic? Elizabeth said quietly. But its interior doesn't follow physical reality as we know it. Evan was taken to the Bridget Cathedral of holographic light and sweeping windows. The stars outside seemed impossibly close. As if the ship drifted through a river of diamonds, Elizabeth worked as the ship's chief systems analyst and her authority showed in the way crew members swiftly obeyed her gestures. Still, she stayed close to Evan, noticing how overwhelmed he was. You're handling this surprisingly well, she said. I think my brain's still loading, he replied. Give it a few more minutes and I might start screaming. That's normal, she assured him. Cosmic displacement tends to do that to people. Before he could ask what that meant, an alarm chimed. Intrusion alert relic CXMBR. Elizabeth paled. That's impossible, she whispered. They rushed through the corridors, lights flashing along the walls like a countdown. Soldiers in armored suits ran ahead, weapons drawn. The humming in the ship had changed, deeper, more urgent. By the time they reached the relic chamber, the situation had escalated. The chamber door glowed red-hot, the metal buckling outward as if something inside was trying to push its way free. Evan froze. It looked like the same emergency exit sign he'd seen above him. Before falling asleep pulsing red, a memory tugged at him, The flickering sign, the hum under the floor. The strange dreamlike sensation before waking. Elizabeth, he said softly, I think I've seen this before. She turned to him sharply. What do you mean? I think whatever's inside knows me or brought me here. Before she could respond, the chamber door blasted open. A wave of shimmering energy rolled out, throwing soldiers off their feet. Evan shielded his eyes. When he looked again, an enormous construct floated in the doorway like a fusion of metal and light, constantly reshaping itself. Elizabeth raised her weapon instinctively, though her hands trembled. It's responding to him, she realized. Evan stepped back, but the entity didn't attack. Instead, it projected a beam of light directly at Evan, enveloping him in a warm, almost familiar glow. He felt something like recognition. A voice rippled inside his mind. You are the one. Who heard us? The one who slept in the shadow of our memory, the one we sieged. OSC, he staggered. Elizabeth, it's talking to me. She lowered her weapon, stunned. What is it saying? The voice continued. The fractured gate you entered was a doorway between what was and what will be. We search for a carrier. A mind capable of shifting between ECA OS7 inhaled shakily. It wants me for something. Elizabeth stepped closer to him. You don't have to accept anything. Whatever it wants, you're still human. You get to choose. The entity pulsed, its glow intensifying. Choose and we will show your species. The path or turn away and the star doors will remain CLOSCD. The crew watched silently, every eye on him. Evan had always been overlooked, forgotten, invisible to the world, but now he was at the center of something far larger. He looked at Elizabeth, who met his gaze without fear. You won't be alone, she said. He swallowed hard and stepped forward. Okay, Evan whispered to the entity. Show me. Light engulfed him. Elizabeth shielded her eyes, but not before glimpsing the energy curling around Evan, harmonizing with his pulse, synchronizing with the rhythm of his mind. The relic wasn't consuming him. It was awakening him. When the light faded, Evan stood taller, eyes glowing faintly with starlight patterns. He looked at Elizabeth, and she felt, for the first time, like she was standing before someone who had touched the infinite. Elizabeth, he said softly, we have a lot of work to do. She exhaled, a smile tugging at her lips. Welcome to the stars, Evan. HFY begins, because humanity had just taken its first step into a greater universe, and a wanderer no one noticed became the bridge that would guide them there.